save the world.
Greetings and salutations, guys. I'm here with my better late than never review of Moana 2026, the latest Disney movie to remake an old animated classic in live action, except not so old this time. In fact, quite recent. This is the story of Moana, who I'm not going to tell you the story of this movie. You know the story of this movie because it's such a freaking popular story from a 2016 movie that has remained year after year one of the most popular movies on Disney Plus and all of streaming, which is why they chose to do a remake so quickly. But it's a time where they definitely should have maybe thought better of that and thought, is this too quick? Are we undercutting ourselves here? Look, I have not been hating all of these remakes. They are absolutely a cynical endeavor. Why do they exist? For cynical reasons. For the reason that, hey, you like this title, you have paid to see this title in the past, so you'll pay to see it again. However, I've liked some of the movies, not all of them. There have been definitely some bad ones, plenty of mediocre ones, but there's been a few that I think have been quite good, like The Jungle Book and like last year, Lilo and Stitch. Yes, I really liked the Lilo and Stitch remake, even though on the internet you'll read how the movie ends with Nani, burying Lilo alive. But I still really like the movie despite that amazingly dark, dark ending. Moana is not terrible, this new version of it. It really isn't. And yet it can't overcome the obstacle of why are we watching this? Why is this even a thing? Uh, and so it's just okay, and yet it actually feels lesser than that because it's just hard to overcome the fact that it shouldn't be. It shouldn't have happened at all, certainly yet. And if you are going to do a remake of one of this quickly, I think you really did have to make it something amazingly special, something that really felt like, oh, they have a take on this that completely makes it worth your while. And instead, it is one of those remakes it just feels like, hey, we're sticking to exactly what you know from the original movie, and nothing will be different about it story wise. Many of the shots will feel extremely similar. I don't think it's shot for shot remake, but plenty of the visuals are evoking, plenty of the shots are, just recreating the same stands, the same angles. And yeah, so if you're going to do that, then it really, yeah, it's just going to kind of sit there, unfortunately. Look, I don't think families that go see this movie are going to have a terrible time. I don't think kids are not going to be entertained because it is a good story and it has great songs, and the songs are, well done. It's, got good performers doing the songs, so there is an enjoyment to be had there, but it also feels just kind of empty as a cinematic endeavor. I did like Catherine Lagia as our title character Moana. I think she's very good. I think she sort of embodies that spirit you want from the character. One thing about Moana, and I know I said this in my review of Moana 2, the animated movie, is that, she's a great hero. She truly is. I think a great heroic figure that you can really, root for. And I think that Lagaia, does exude that. You do feel that this is someone who is meant for greater things in that classic hero's journey way. And Dwayne Johnson has Maui. He's good. I mean, this is a character he's been playing for 10 years, has a voice role. Now he's there doing it in person. I think he still has that spirit of Maui he brings with him, and he seems to be having a good time doing it. I don't think he quite pops as a character though in this live action version like he does in animation. Part of it is the physicality, even though The Rock is a big buff guy, the fact that he's still not bigger than life in the way that Maui is, the fact that his build is different, it just feels off to me. Let's talk about the hair for a second, just to say it didn't really bother me. I get it. It's distracting. It's funny to see The Rock in what we know is an obvious wig, but I don't actually think it looks like terrible, like unrealistic. I think it's just the disconnect of that's not how The Rock looks these days and hasn't looked for a long time as far as any hair. So I understand people snarking about it, even though I think they kind of go a little over the top with it. But I'm not going to let them off the hook, off the giant Maui hook with the lack of nipples. because man, was that weird and distracting. Uh, Give that man some nipples. The whole time Maui's on screen, it's like there's something off, there's something wrong, there's something weird and off-putting about this. And I know you could say Maui's a demigod, and there's a million reasons you can come up with for why this character has no nipples, but I don't even want to be thinking about the lack of nipples on Maui. Get that guy's nipples, man. It was wrong. It's just wrong. The main cast is actually pretty small, which makes sense if you think about Moana and who has speaking roles. It's not that many characters. I think everyone's good in the movie. I especially liked Rena Owen as Moana's grandmother, which of course is an important role in the story. Very emotional role. I thought she did a really good job and had the vibe you want from that character, even though she was also obviously maybe like 10 years too young to play that role and is not old enough to be the mother of the actor playing her son. It's a little funny that they did that, but I still think, even though she seemed like a little young to be as frail as the character is supposed to be, she still had the warmth I wanted from that character, and I liked her a lot. Thomas Kail is the director here, and he mainly has a stage background, but a very important one because he directed Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights and Hamilton. Miranda, of course, being a producer and the songwriter on Moana. So Thomas Kail brings with him that musical theater background, and it serves him well here with the musical numbers, as you might guess, for the most part, because they do pop. They, do have these soaring moments. Again, they are great songs, and so you would think that would sound great on screen again. They do, but I don't know if he had quite the visual spark you needed to really make this stand out. Again, to make this not feel just like we watched the animated movie, here it is again, but a little more visually drab. And so yeah, it just doesn't have that sort of inventive feeling to it or anything directorially where it would stand out and feel like, oh, this is someone's new vision of the Moana story. It's just shooting what we know. And then there's the fact that they shot in Hawaii, they shot in Australia, they shot in real locations somewhat. And there are some really pretty shots in the movie, but then it'll go from realistic because it was really there, shots on the water or on a beach, to shots where you can tell it's actors sitting on a green screen boat. And sometimes it's like shot to shot, it's moment to moment, but it gives you kind of a disconnect and it kind of a turbulent feeling where you're with it and then suddenly it doesn't feel real at all. And again, if you're trying to be like, this is the realistic version of Moana, which again, no one was actually asking for, but if you're going to do that, I think it just can't be like, okay, we're shooting it to look like the animated movie, but then we're just blocking it the same way, but then sometimes it doesn't look that realistic anyway. I alluded to the fact that not every musical number works as well as it could, and I think the big one for me is Shiny, a song that is near and dear to my heart. But the whole Tamatoa sequence just kind of falls flat here. It doesn't look as good as an animated movie. It feels a little clunky, just even the way the action is done in that scene. And it felt like that is a sequence where they, could have gone a lot of ways with it. They kind of gone crazy with it. And instead, it just feels like, well, I'd rather be watching the animated version ultimately. And I think, of course, that is a lot of this movie, which is that even when I was enjoying it, even when I was like, oh, this is Moana, I like Moana, the movie and the character and the story. If I was told which one would you want to watch right now, I'd want to watch the animated movie. That's the one that, completely captures that joyous feeling that you want from Moana. So yeah, this is a little bit of a tricky one because I do feel myself being a little harsher on it than I would if it existed in a vacuum. If I just saw this movie and had no connection to previous Moana, I might say this is an interesting little fable they're telling here with great songs, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. We all know Moana so well. They are not adapting some obscure little thing. They're adapting such a beloved property. And again, just standing out how recent it is. The fact that the sequel came out a year and a half ago, that's crazy that, they even put this out. I know the order of events is very jumbled, where this movie was the one in the works first. The sequel was supposed to be an animated series, then they changed it to an animated movie instead, but they were already too far along with this movie to stop it. It just felt like if they should have a few years ago really thought about what they wanted to do with Moana, because it is a special property, and they should have just done the animated sequel, and they should have taken more time with it. I didn't hate that movie. Thought it was actually, a pretty decent movie, but also pretty decent, really didn't cut it for Moana. You wanted it to be great and you wanted the songs to be way better. They didn't have Lin-Manuel Miranda for that movie, and it showed. And so, yeah, it just feels like, I know Moana 2 made $1 billion, so proving the popularity of the character, but it's not shocking me that this movie is not going to do as well. You can already see the box office returns. It might not bomb, but it's going to, under deliver what Disney wanted from it. Doesn't surprise me because I think even kids and families, as much as they love Moana, and they should, it is a legitimately wonderful, beautiful movie. I think everyone feels what's the point of this one? 10 years later. That's just a strange thing. It's most similar to How to Train Your Dragon, which isn't a Disney movie, but another animated movie that turned into live action recently, as far as that feeling like shot for shot, even that's not literally true. It's very similar. But How to Train Your Dragon is a better movie ultimately. It did feel like that movie did sort of lock in a way that Moana does not. And so, yeah, I don't hate this movie. I don't think it's worthless, but I can't recommend it because, yeah, there's so many reasons that it just feels like this shrug of a movie that can't overcome those obstacles, unfortunately. And give that man some nipples. Give that demigod some nipples. That's my biggest note of them all. All right, guys, those are my thoughts on Moana, which is in theaters right now. If you can like and subscribe, that would be great. Thanks a lot.